Hello, I'm Jacqueline Hellyer of the Love Life Clinic, and welcome back to the second episode of Fly on the Wall Friday, where I share with you interesting cases from the clinic to inform and inspire you in your own lives. And this week's case is the case of the missing libido, a very common case that I see here in the clinic. And in this case, it was a same-sex female couple where one of them presented as the problem partner because she just felt that she had lost her libido, she had no mojo, and was letting her partner down. And her partner was very disappointed that this wasn't happening and was hoping that something could be done so that they could get back on track and start having a more fulfilling love life together. Very, very common case. So the first thing I always do is I just normalize it for people. I mean, everyone has different levels of desire for all sorts of different things, whether it's food or holidays, visiting the in-laws or exercise. Like, there's always going to be different levels of interest and drive and so forth. And so I normalize it like that and say that every couple needs to, address this issue together. One of the key takeaways from the first edition of this video series. You've got to do it together. And so this was good because at least they were both here together. So the next thing I always say is, well, look, what is libido? And so often people say to me, I've lost it, as though it's a thing. Like, oh my God, where did I put that libido? Oh gosh, it's not a thing. It's not something you have or you lose. Libido is something that needs to be cultivated. It's an energy, it's a feeling. It's not always just there. Which brings me to the next point, is that we often think that libido is arousal. We conflate arousal and desire. We think that arousal, which is that physical feeling of lust, of horniness, that is libido, that is desire. So if we're not feeling that horny, lustful, physical feeling, then we think we don't have desire. We've lost our libidos. However, if we think about desire, let's think about the word for a start. It's a transitive verb. It means it goes from one to another. If I desire something, or I desire you, right? And it's an emotion, it's a heartfelt thing. So it comes from the heart. It's a feeling of wanting another. It can also be a thought, it comes from the head, like, oh, sex would be good, wouldn't mind some tonight, or on the weekend, or, what do I need to do to get in the mindset and be in the right space for it? So desire is sort of more of an upper body thing, whereas arousal is, well, let's say lower body. It's more of a genital thing, and it's not transitive. It's just a feeling that you have in your body. And if that's all it is, if it's just sort of like, well, I'm kind of horny and I wouldn't mind a quick orgasm, well, do it yourself, quicker and easier. If you want to engage with your partner, if you've got this desire to engage with your partner, well, that's a two-person thing, okay? So very different kind of a concept of it just being this spontaneous kind of lustful feeling. And this is another really important distinction that we need to make. This idea that lust should be spontaneous. I mean, hello, we're not all 15-year-old boys. For most people in society, it doesn't just happen like that. Lust is not something that can be just happen. Like, okay, sometimes the hormones are in the right space, or, sometimes you're away on a beautiful holiday with no stresses around and no impositions and you're nice and relaxed. And so it might feel very spontaneous, but it's not. In fact, let's even go back right to the beginning, because often couples will look back fondly on the early honeymoon phase when, it was all great and everyone was lustful and there was lots of easy, frequent, spontaneous sex. But was it really? I mean, think about it. For a start, there was a lot of newness, a lot of discovery, a lot of moving towards, a lot of dopamine flowing. And dopamine is that something's happening kind of a feeling. It causes that feeling, which also leads to testosterone and leads to all sorts of desire of more physical nature. So all that newness and interest and unusualness is very, very good for one's sex drive. The other thing that's going on a lot in the early days is anticipation. So there's a long lead up. Usually there's days or more of like, oh, when am I going to see my beloved? Or oh, we're going to be doing something great. You're looking forward to it. You're planning, you're prepping yourself, you're looking good, and then you meet and it's great. So by the time you get home in the bedroom, you can't wait to rip your clothes off, right? Was that spontaneous? No, not at all. There are a whole heap of really positive factors involved over a long period of time that led to it being such a good, natural, easy kind of experience. But time passes. For a start, we get older and we get more responsibilities and so forth that we might not have had, particularly when we were young. On top of that, if we're living together and things are not happening at home, or there's no anticipation, there's no lead up. And yet people seem to think they should fall into bed last thing at night when they're exhausted and spontaneously be lustful. Like, it just makes no sense whatsoever. Yet people buy into this belief. So let's ditch that belief and focus on not spontaneous arousal, but responsive arousal. Things that actually get you in the mood, things that actually get you wanting to connect with your partner so that you're creating the time and the space and the conditions that allow you to do things that are so important for lust. That you're not too tired, that you've got energy, you're not feeling stressed, that you're getting on with your partner, that there are no distractions, that you're in a nice environment. And in this busy life that we all lead, that generally requires a little bit of planning, a little bit of talking together. How can we create a lovely environment? How can we not get too tired? How can we come together in a way where we're present with each other and we want to create something really special? So coming back to our lovely lesbians who I met this week, just in the first session, they just went, oh, wow, 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 wow. Lots of light bulb moments where they realized that this is normal to be different, that you don't have to start with lust, that you can move into, as I call it, love-led sex, not lust-led sex. In fact, as the lower desire partner said, it's like planning dinner, isn't it? Like, you're not hungry at the time, but dinner's coming, so you'll start thinking about what you're going to cook and what you need to be able to prepare a nice meal. And then if you want it to be nice, it's really good to actually put a little bit around it, sit at the table, put some music on. It's exactly like that. Everything good in life takes a bit of focus, a little bit of planning, a little bit of creating the space, whether it's a meal, whether it's a holiday, whether it's catching up with friends, whether it's going to the gym, any of these good things we think about, we plan. What do we need for it to be able to happen? And we put it in place. But when it comes to sex, these old tropes, these myths that spontaneity and lust and blah, 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 ditch them and start co-creating. Start thinking about, how do we come together in a good, positive space? And from there, chances are good stuff will happen. So hopefully that's inspired you, this case of the missing libido, or should I call it the case of the rediscovered libido. I'm looking forward to seeing what their second session is like in a couple of weeks. And I hope that it's inspired you in your own life to ditch some of those useless myths that just hang around, and you can actually start co-creating goodness together. So the case of the fabulous libido here at the Love Life Clinic. I'm Jacqueline Hellyer. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you again next week for another case of Fly on the Wall Friday.